Welcome back, everyone, to Pod of Thrones. I'm Jeff.
I'm Jennifer.
We did it again, babe.
We did it!
Yes. There was one weekend I was like, we don't really have anything to podcast about. And because time is meaningless, guess how long it's been?
Since the before times?
Since we did a podcast?
No.
No.
month.
It hasn't been almost
2
9
months.
months. It's been about a month and a half.
Oh, I mean,
crazy, right?
It's been longer. Maybe.
We have had a couple longer breaks here and there, like, you know, when a season of Game of Thrones was over and we were just exhausted, or the last season. Actually, we took a long break after the last season of Game of Thrones.
Well, you know, if somebody would just pay us, then we could just do this every day.
I keep thinking about what we could do to provide additional content and therefore, like,
monetize this.
Make this worth someone's money.
Like what?
I
What
don't
could
know.
we do?
I was thinking sex tapes.
I don't think anybody wants to see that.
There's an audience for, like, people in their 40s getting it on. I mean, it's not everyone's taste, but
And we have to associate that with our podcast.
I mean, Porn of Thrones.
Oh my gosh. That
It's got a ring to it.
it sure
right?
does.
Yeah, there you go. So we got to keep thinking about that. But yes.
How about Corn of Thrones?
Where's the corn going?
Well, I mean, it was just like cornball, not like
Okay.
I know. As it was coming out my mouth, I knew it was going in the wrong direction.
I wasn't sure if you were going with actual corn or cornhole,
Well,
which
no.
is its own.
I
Anyway.
know.
So yeah, it's been a while. How you been? Good.
Well,
This might be part of the reason why it's been a while, not just you.
Right. You know what? Everybody out there that is severely depressed because of everything that's going on, I'm right there with you.
You're not alone.
You are not
You're
alone,
not
I
alone.
promise.
I was in a pretty bad funk myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's a rough couple months there. I'm sort of coming out of it, but you have your good days and bad days.
Yeah, I definitely go up and down.
Yeah, you're more like a rapid up and down. I'll just like fall into a slow decline and then stay there at the bottom for a
Right.
while.
Well, I can fake it a lot because I've done that all my life. So it's easy for a person with chronic depression to have an outward okay face.
See, now that's different from me. I'm not typically a depressed person. But and it does surprise me. Like, even though I love staying indoors, like it is kind of wearing me down. For the first couple months of COVID were pretty great. Yeah. Not having to commute so much.
Yeah, that's not what bothers me, though. It's not staying indoors. It's that life is really, really hard.
Well, that's true too. And you've got a lot of stuff going on, especially with your mom, who probably doesn't listen to the show. So, you know, we can talk about that.
Maybe I should make her listen.
There are a couple episodes of the Kid Free Weekend podcast about her. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But let's talk about more.
Okay. So
Not depressing
things
stuff.
weren't great for a while. And
They're still not great.
They're still not amazing, but it's time to kind of shake things up a little bit.
Rattle the cage.
Get back into the swing of things. But despite the depression, we did keep up with some other very inactive hobbies, like sitting on the couch and watching TV.
Gaining a lot of weight.
Gaining some weight. Yeah. But see, now I'm back on my diet, trying to take some of that back off again.
I'm not.
It was probably not a good sign when I was like, I'm just going to stop dieting for a while. That's not a smart choice,
that was,
right?
you thought that your diet was stalled. So you were like,
That's
well, I mean, what else are you going to do? Keep dieting?
That's true. I don't know,
Yeah.
you still look pretty good to me over there, lady. I'm not
My
sure what's happening.
pants don't
but
fit.
Take them off. I mean, that solves all the problems, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Including our need to generate additional content.
We just need to get a video camera on. All right.
Look, I've got a phone right here. Okay. So we have still been watching some TV. Now today we were going to talk about, finally at long last, the much promised Watchmen, which incidentally got some requests for, of like, hey, I hope you guys get to that soon.
Well, here we are.
That reminds me of something. This is all just sort of, let me see if I can find this email real quick. There's like approximately 3 billion podcasts in the world.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, what can we podcast about that nobody podcasts about?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying we're doing something right. Oh. Because I recently heard from someone who does podcast rankings. And apparently, in the lovely country of Mexico, and only Mexico, I don't know how we're doing in the rest of the world, but this guy who calculates podcast rankings says that out of all the TV and film podcasts out there, which is a lot, we are number 132.
What?
I mean, I think that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
And it makes me feel really bad that we don't do this show in Spanish, but I mean, after high school, a couple classes in college, and I haven't really used it since, unfortunately. And lo siento mucho, mis amigos.
No soy my dinero.
What?
Don't take my money.
That's
from that song.
Oh, what, La Bamba?
Yes.
I don't.
Yo no soy my dinero.
Yeah, I'm not a sailor, I think.
No, dinero is money.
No, marinero.
Oh. No.
Yo no soy marinero.
No, my dinero.
Soy capitan. Oh. I'm not a sailor, I'm the captain. I think that's what that song means. The good news is you've just made all our Mexican listeners laugh.
Okay, now.
Yeah. So shout out to Mexico. We love you even if we don't speak your language. And weirdly, they speak ours. I mean,
that's because this is America.
We've only really talked to Arthur, but I think he speaks better English than I do. It's weird.
Wow.
Americans just suck. We're just so...
I would love to learn.
We're just ignorant.
Well,
what?
I don't want to call myself ignorant, but...
Well, how many languages do you speak?
One.
Right.
I would love to learn more, but my brain is not as spongifical as it used to be.
Right. No, that's a good word. I'm sure all the Spanish speakers know exactly what spongifical means. Thank you for studying our English.
All right.
So anyway, thank you, Mexico, for being among our biggest supporters.
Gracias.
Yeah. Muchas gracias. Anyway, things that I've been thinking a lot about in terms of the pop culture shit we're always talking about here. So we're about to talk about Watchmen, but we did also binge a hell of a lot of The Boys recently.
Oh, yes.
And we just burned right through that shit. There was no time to do podcasts about it. It was just a nonstop. But A Boys season 3 is coming.
Yeah.
So I feel like as that looms, whenever that is, it's not coming up in the next couple of months. But when that is coming, I think we need to do some like season discussions of this.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going to talk a little bit about it tonight because...
Is there something you want to say?
No, it's an amazing show.
It is an amazing show. I knew it was going to be good, and a lot of people said it was good, but it was so much more than I thought it would be. So if you haven't watched The Boys yet on Amazon Prime,
do watch it unless you don't like
going on that.
To hear the word cunt a lot.
Well, anyone listening to us probably watched Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
So that's Game of Thrones is like a warm-up act in number of cunts per hour. And then The Boys really just kicks it into high gear. What was the other show we watched that was really good?
We finished a podcast about...
Well, that was Lovecraft Country.
Right.
Yeah, we did all that. But there was something else we watched recently. Now I can't remember what it was. We are recording this on a Wednesday, and earlier today, they released the first trailer for Cobra Kai Season 3, which I am very excited about, even if you're not. I mean, you haven't finished Season 2.
I know, it's corny right now. Speaking of corn and balls.
Corn balls?
Yes, it's corny right now.
You need to see how it ends. It does get kind of corny. Well, we were watching it with your daughter. and then she kind of gave up on it, and that makes me very sad. My completionist, that part of me has a very hard time just not finishing that with her. It hurts me a little bit, like my soul cries out, knowing that it's incomplete.
Yeah, I know. But you can't push these things on people.
I'm not pushing anything. But there was something else we watched, and now I can't remember what it was. Darn it. Oh, well.
Maybe it'll come to us.
It'll come. Something else we watched that we should probably talk a little bit about someday. But anyway, for now, we're going to talk about Watchmen, which, as far as I know, is going to be just the one season. And the reason that this was on our list of something we absolutely have to talk about is that, or at least for me, I mean, it's nerdy, superhero, all that kind of stuff. But the one thing that I kept hearing about it was that the show kicks off with a depiction of the Tulsa Massacre, which, of course, was something we covered in depth when we talked about Lovecraft Country.
Smelled like Tulsa.
That's right.
I kept waiting for him to say that again in that show.
Yeah, he never came back to it. Mm-mm. So just the real quick summary, since we're about to talk about this happening on screen. The Tulsa Massacre, as a reminder, or if you didn't listen to our Lovecraft Country episodes, happened in 1921. Tulsa was a prosperous city growing by leaps and bounds, and that included a very well-off black community with a business district so well-off it was sometimes referred to as Black Wall Street. But then one day, in an elevator in an office building, a black teenager did something that made a white elevator operator lady scream, and then he ran.
Well, she had no right working that elevator up just because she was a woman.
Okay.
I don't know.
Wait, what?
I mean, I'm surprised that
women shouldn't
I didn't realize
elevators?
that she was operating the elevator. I just thought she was a passenger.
No, she was employed as an elevator operator. But we don't know what happened. She screamed, and then that guy ran away, but then the cops found him and arrested him. And of course, the black community was afraid he was going to be lynched because he probably was. That's what happened back then. Remember Emmett Till? Like, this is a common thing, right? You get your hands on the guy, and then for whatever quote-unquote crime he committed, you kill him before any true justice could possibly be figured out. So there was a mob of white people outside the jail house, whatever it's called. And then some black people showed up, and they had weapons. Then more white people came, and some of them had weapons. And next thing you know, it's this horrible armed standoff. And there was some shooting, but then everybody split up and kind of went home. But that led to, very rapidly, the destruction of Greenwood, which was the predominantly black district in Tulsa, or maybe all black district in Tulsa. And it wasn't just, it was murder, and it was destruction, burning everything down, houses, businesses. And of course, also during this riot, the businesses were looted. That can happen. It really does just ring in my head compared to all the stuff we see today, where people are complaining about looting that hasn't really happened, or very, very little of it. And the accusations that come around that, like, white people have done way worse when they felt slighted. So just know some history, goddammit.
Right. Well, I mean, white people have done a very good job at hiding that history.
That is true. That is very true.
So that's why a lot of people are ignorant, because America likes to hide their evilness.
Yeah. Yep. You can't say it better than that. It is absolutely true. We've hidden a lot of our history.
I had no idea. Up until college.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I learned about some shit in grade school and middle school, high school and all that, but nothing about the Tulsa Massacre.
No.
Not even. And that's
I didn't even hear about that in college. I just heard about American history as an overview, and I was like, what the fuck? I had no idea we were so bad.
Manifest destiny.
Yep.
God said we should control and dominate this land, and
it's ours.
If you weren't white, fuck off. And for a while, it was even like if you weren't white, and also like fuck Italians and Irish people, and I mean there was all sorts of shit. But Whatever. We're slowly getting better, right?
Well, we're trying.
Oh, there was an election since last we talked.
Holy moly, yes.
That's a thing.
And we might have a Democratic president.
Well, we are.
We do, but we might.
All the states have certified the election. The Supreme Court rejected the Trump campaign's request to have the Pennsylvania results reviewed. So that should pretty much seal the deal.
I just saw something on the news, my news feed, saying that 17 states have said they would back Trump's, it was on CNBC.
Trump's what?
Trump's repeal or something like that.
Back him if he...
I don't know.
Just refused to leave the White House?
It's ridiculous that people are even still talking about it.
Well, it is legitimately an attempted coup, and we should never forget that. He's trying to undemocratically take over the government, and it doesn't appear that there will be a consequence for that. I hope, maybe, but I don't have a lot of hope because that's not really what Joe Biden's about, and the people he's putting in his cabinet are not really about. It's not an ideal situation, but it is better than Trump. So we got that going for us.
Right.
Yep.
Hopefully we can... I haven't quite yet felt the weight lift, but hopefully it will soon lift. Some.
Hopefully. Well, we're 1 month away from inauguration.
I feel like I have a big fat Trump sitting right on my chest.
Ooh.
I know.
That's some weight you could shed. I would encourage you shedding that weight.
Me too.
Preferably while your clothes are on, because I don't want him
sitting on me naked.
He doesn't deserve to sit on you naked.
Hopefully his clothes are on too.
Ugh.
Yuck.
All right. Anyway, let's talk about The Watchmen. Hooray, democracy. So we're going to talk about The Watchmen, season 1, episode 1. The title of which was "It's Summer and We're Running Out of Ice," which is a line that I really should have known because I did Oklahoma in high school. I was in the pit orchestra, not a main star, but I knew that music like the back of my hand for a while. So shame on me. But it did all click together at the very end. And I was like, fuck, that's right. At the very end of the episode. Okay, but that's not where we're starting. We're starting in Tulsa, 1921. Go figure. Where a little boy is watching a Western movie, and that Western movie just happens to have a black hero.
Marshall.
The Black Marshal of Oklahoma, Bass Reeves. I didn't look up to see if that's a real character, but I don't think it is. That silent film looked a little too good.
Yeah, it didn't look real.
Yeah. And he's what I took from this, not knowing what was going to happen to this boy, the one thing I noticed was he's watching this message, coming up on the silent film, and the message of Bass Reeves was trust in the law. He's the law. He's the law and order guy. He's stopping the bad guy who happened to be white, whatever, but all the people appreciated him saving the day. And it was all coming to a very nice conclusion, whatever the rest of the story was. And this boy seemed inspired by it, taken by it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then explosions start and sirens. And that's when we get a very quick, compared to Lovecraft Country, a very quick view of the Tulsa Massacre. His mom was playing the piano. They run out of the theater. There is shooting and looting and Molotov cocktails being thrown. Just complete chaos in the streets.
Yes.
People are getting shot left and right. But mommy... Oh, and his dad shows up too at the theater, and they get to a car.
His dad's a soldier.
Was he a soldier?
He was wearing a soldier uniform.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And he had a nice rifle.
Mm-hmm.
But they get to a car that's going to get out of there, but there's no room for them, only room for the kid.
No.
I know. We'll be right behind you, baby.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen enough movies to know how that's going to go.
Right. Oh, my gosh, my heart was breaking.
No. So they lock him in a trunk.
And he's so cute.
He is cute. And they put a note into his pocket. And they're getting away in the car, and then the bombing starts. So that was part of the Tulsa Massacre too, was the commandeering of some nearby airplanes, and guys started dropping homemade firebombs out of these planes. Lovecraft Country portrayed it more as like warheads, like real bombs dropping from the sky. I don't think that's what it was, but either way, they depicted this, and as the firebombs start going off, the boy blacks out. He wakes up in a field. Everyone else around him is dead. All the nice people that took him in.
Except the baby.
And there's a baby. He picks up the baby. He looks in his pocket. The note that his parents put in the pocket said, "Watch over this boy." Mm-hmm. And then he just picks up that baby and starts walking.
Yeah.
Don't know where he's going.
Such a big little man.
Yep. Strong, I guess.
Yeah. Babies are heavy after a while.
Right. And he was only
tiny.
like 6, 7 years old.
Baby's
maybe.
like half his size.
Right. So maybe that's important. Maybe it's important that he is kind of strong. Okay. And then we're done with the Tulsa Race Massacre, and we're in the present day, or something close to the present day. Things seem very high tech, but they don't really tell us how many years it's been. So we get some dude gets pulled over by the Tulsa police, and when we see the cop come up to the car, he has a yellow gaiter on, a term I have learned thanks to COVID-19. the piece of cloth that pulls up over your face is just called a gaiter.
I thought at first it was just kind of like I don't know.
Could have been a robot. The way that the cop was talking, it was very formal and official, but could have just been a machine for all I knew. But it was a face covering. You don't get to see the cops' faces in the future. That's interesting. Can we just talk about how that's already basically been happening? Fuck. I mean, the Portland uprising was marked by the fact that cops were being permitted to cover up their badge and all identifying information.
Well, I mean, now we know why.
And that was like not official. Like the mayor didn't say do that, but it was basically
okay to do.
Just what the whole department was doing. It wasn't just a couple cops that were putting duct tape over their badges. They were all covering up their information, but they had to wear some identifying information. So they were wearing an employee ID number that was not searchable in any public database. Yeah, it's really fucked up. Anyway, so in this future, the cops don't have to show their faces either. But I was writing that like the interaction between the cop and this white guy felt very, and we saw the cop was black, like when we saw his hands or whatever, it just started to feel very role reversal.
Right.
Like the white guy was keeping his hands up and not making any sudden movements.
You know that he was doing something bad because he just, I mean.
What? Did he look shady to you?
He looked shady to me.
That's profiling.
I know, but he did.
You're profiling white guys.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know why the cop felt he should pull him over, but the cop the guy has to get his registration out, and there's this piece of just really
dirty
grimy
cloth,
looking
right?
cloth. Yeah, it doesn't look like anything to me.
Like an oil, he wiped his hands on a rag from oil.
But the cop goes back to his car and calls in for weapons authorization. Another interesting possible view of the future, which I feel like what we're seeing there is what some I don't know, some piece of shit like Ben Shapiro or Sean Hannity or something would take like that clip and be like, this is the future liberals want. Cops can't defend themselves anymore.
Right.
Yeah. So the guy uses a term, he said he saw cavalry contraband and specified it was a Rorschach mask. So immediately I'm like, oh, is that what that dirty rag was? Did you catch what that meant?
I don't know what a Rorschach mask is.
Okay, so this goes back to the Watchmen movie or comic book. We watched the movie together a few months ago. Maybe more than a few months ago. Time is meaningless. I don't know. But we watched it a while ago, and Rorschach was the guy in the trench coat with the really scratchy voice.
Oh, yeah. And his face changing thing.
Right. His mask would change all the time.
Oh.
To be different, like ink blot looking symbols.
It's really like it's after him.
It's definitely after him. And again, we don't have a time frame for this, but the comic book / movie takes place, I think, in the 80s. But like Nixon is still president, I think. I don't know. It's a very different like alternate timeline
Nixon was
for
president?
America. It might have been Reagan, but Nixon was a great figure. Like he was a revered figure in that timeline. Yeah. As we saw, there's a flash of him being on Mount Rushmore at one point during this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So a Rorschach mask, we still don't know what the hell's going on. But this guy, the cop can't draw his gun until someone buzzes it out. Has to like push a button. So he has to justify it. He has to answer a bunch of questions about why he wants his weapon. And by the time he gets that gun released, sure enough, the person he pulled over was a bad dude and had pulled out a automatic rifle and shot up the car.
Right. And all that poor man had was a pistol. He would have lost anyway.
Well, probably. I mean, it only takes one good shot to take someone out at close range.
Right. But if he had had it at its side to begin with, nothing would have happened. But
right. So that doesn't speak well of the cops in this situation, I guess. Like, they've been neutered. It doesn't speak well of something, the government,
Right.
I suppose, that they've neutered the cops to the point where they can't defend themselves.
well, I mean,
But what led up to that?
What led up to that?
Yeah.
Oregon?
What?
I don't know. Portland?
Well, but that's the thing, is that what's happening in places where our protests have been going on, some have described them as police riots. It's not the people that were rioting. It was the cops looking for an excuse to start busting skulls open.
Who knows?
Which didn't require guns. The cops, I don't think, shot anybody with real bullets during these protests, or maybe just very few people, a couple people here and there. But mostly it was nightsticks and rubber bullets and a lot of tear gas.
Yeah.
So much tear gas. But just a lot of physical punishment to the protesters.
Well, we don't know. We weren't there. Let's continue about the
A lot
Watchmen.
of video footage, lady.
I know,
Just
but
saying.
you don't see all of it. You don't see what led to that point. All you see is that point. You can't take one point in time and determine what had happened to get to that level of escalation.
Yeah. Okay, so that guy, you'd think he's probably dead. Turns out he's not, but whatever. So we cut to a black production of Oklahoma. Have you ever seen that show?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
I wonder if you'd like it. We should just watch it sometime. One of your kids is really into musical theater. Maybe that would be a good excuse to just have a family movie night of Oklahoma. It's got some very recognizable music. Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. That's like the opening, like the first thing you see in Oklahoma after the overture is the cowboy.
Is it good?
Oh, what a beautiful morning. You know that song?
Yeah. What a beautiful day.
It's an okay musical, I guess. Or an okay play. It's not my favorite. It's about a cowboy. Oh, Surrey with a Fringe on Top? Made very, very famous by When Harry Met Sally in that karaoke scene.
Oh, right.
That's from Oklahoma.
Yes.
So, we have a black cast of Oklahoma, and Don Johnson is there.
I know.
Now, he winds up getting a name. I think it's Crawford. Yeah. Judd Crawford.
Huh.
But we don't actually hear that in the show until right at the very end, I think. Somewhere in the last, 10 minutes of this hour-long episode, they finally say his name out loud. But we did get Crawford out of the subtitles a couple times. Anyway, so it's Don Johnson, former Miami Vice dude, and probably known for a couple other things, but mostly that. Don Johnson's there, and a masked cop with the gator on comes and talks to him, and then we go to the hospital. The cop is still alive. Was this
the guy with the silver mask?
Not in the theater, but as soon as we get to the hospital, there's a masked detective in this shiny silver mask.
I want that.
And we learn his name is Wade. And in the subtitles late in the episode, he had a different name that was something to do with reflections, but I can't remember what that is off the top of my head. But his name is, but he can pull up his mask in front of Don Johnson, and when they're in the room, but they have to keep these masks on everywhere else, I guess. So they're running background checks on everyone who could possibly have seen, in the hospital, who saw this very injured cop's face. And they keep talking about cavalry, Kavalry, cavalry with a K. The K thing kind of bothers me.
Right.
I mean, K's, KKK.
Okay.
Okay. But the cop's alive. That's the important part. Don Johnson, Crawford, he goes to the cop's house to talk to his wife. And there's where we learn that it's a strict no-no to tell anyone that you're a cop.
Right.
The wife gets to know. But she had to make up a cover story for all her friends that he's going to night school or something.
Mm-hmm. To be an engineer.
Yeah. So cops can't show their faces. Cops can't tell anyone they're cops, even their closest friends. And they can't pull out their guns on their own. We're setting up quite a future here.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and they have to make up a fake reason he's in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's just a lie. Interesting note there, as that scene was ending, there was a TV, I think, in the background or something, and it showed Mars, and Dr. Manhattan was there building some kind of large structure.
Really? I didn't see that.
Remember Dr. Manhattan? Uh-huh. Can't forget him. You can forget Rorschach, but that swinging blue dong will stick in your head forever, won't it?
Right.
Right? No one forgets Dr. Manhattan, not after that movie.
Nope.
Oh, boy. That was someone's job to animate
the dong,
a swinging blue dong, and it probably cost like $1 million to do from start to finish. Just the penis.
I wonder what it said in the credits.
Dong animator. Coxman. Okay, so now we're going to meet Angela. She is seemingly a very nice lady who's at a show and tell. She's a baker. She baked mooncakes for a classroom of children. And a couple big revelations here. First of all, Vietnam appears to be a U.S. state. The question of Vietnam statehood was mentioned during her little talk with these kids. So, okay. I mean, that's got to have something to do with Nixon pushing the Vietnam War. Right. This must be a future. I think it's a future where we won the Vietnam War, at least in part, thanks to Dr. Manhattan stepping in. That's a fuzzy memory, but I'm pretty sure that was talked about.
That sounds about right.
And then there were basically no more wars with America because no one wants to get fucked up by Dr. Manhattan. And she mentions that she is a retired police officer, and now she has a bakery. And when they talk about, they want to know why she retired, and it has something to do with something called the White Night. Night, not Knight. So something happened on the White Night. We don't know what that is. Another kid mentions something. Did she buy her bakery or something with red fordations?
Right. I thought he was trying to say reformations or something. But no.
Or reparations.
Right.
A topic that we should talk about in regards to slavery. But this is red fordations. Mm-hmm. And that starts a fight in the classroom with the lady's son.
Yeah.
And that kid. And we still don't know what that is. But apparently, I think Robert Redford was at some point the president in this alternate timeline. I think that's what we were supposed to get out of that.
Really?
I think. Whew.
Okay.
Weird stuff. Okay, so she's driving her kid home, and they have to pull over because it starts raining. Go, babe, go.
It starts raining tiny squids. It's like the locust thing, but with squids instead, and they're everywhere.
Yeah, like if there was a swarm of locusts, they would be flying around your car. They'd probably be bouncing off of the car, and some of them would die. But these
crunch over them, yeah.
And these were they're soft,
plopping right out of the sky. Yeah. So where did they come from?
I hope we get to find out what the fuck that's about.
I'm sure we will.
I was trying to tell you this as we were watching it, but that has something to do with the comic book, not the movie, because the movie, one of its biggest crimes by Watchmen, like people that truly love the Watchmen, and I'm somewhere on the fence there, but if you truly love the comic book, the way the movie ended was a crime, because Ozymandias, the bad guy of the whole movie, was trying to bring humanity together through an apocalyptic situation, and he set off nuclear blasts all over the world. But not in the comic book. In the comic book, he summoned a bunch of giant squids that started destroying everything. So it's got to have some tie-in with the comic book in that regard, but why would it be raining baby squids?
I don't know.
And I really hope we get to find out. We have to, right?
Somebody's got to be cooking those things up in a pot.
Yeah, right. Like how you collect rain. You could just put a bucket outside your house when squid rain's going to start.
Squid night.
Right. You just batter them and deep fry them.
Yeah.
But you have to, excuse me, you have to keep them from
rotting,
splorching when they hit the ground, right?
But yeah, that's why you got a bucket of water.
You have to cushion. Oh, right. I didn't even think of that.
And then they think they're all happy. They've made it.
We survived. Boy, it must be really messy if you're in an airplane and you fly through a big cloud.
Ugh.
Probably just can't do it anymore. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I would clog up your engines.
Yeah. So they get through the squid rain, and now she's home. She's talking to her husband, but then her pager goes off, and it says Little Bighorn. So she says she has to run to her bakery. And I wrote, I bet it's not really a bakery. Huh. Weird. As she gets to her bakery, though, another important thing, a reference that puts us in the Watchmen universe. A guy, an old guy in a wheelchair, is reading a newspaper, and the headline that we see on the newspaper is Veidt officially declared dead.
Okay.
And that is a reference to, I assume, even though it might have been 20 years since the fucking comic book or movie, but it's a reference to, I think his name is James Veidt, but he's Ozymandias, the bad guy from the comic.
That old man is the little boy.
Right. And we don't find that out until the very end of the episode. But yeah, he's just this old guy in a wheelchair, and he's like, hey.
I kind of knew from the start.
You thought so?
When I saw him. I don't remember. There was something about something. I don't remember what it was, but something that.
Well, he does. The weird thing, and this is why I mentioned the baby carrying part, is that he asks Angela as she's heading into her bakery if she thinks he can lift 200 pounds.
Sure you can, old man.
And he's like, I can. I'll prove it, or something. Like, very weird interaction. He also wants to know when the bakery's opening. She's not quite ready yet. I do love the name of the bakery. Do you remember what it was?
No.
Milk and Hanoi. Instead of honey. That's clever. Very clever. Vietnamese. Yeah.
Now let's talk about her family for just a sec, because her children all appear to be white.
She has 3 kids. They all appear to be white.
And she's got a black husband. And she's half black, half Vietnamese, I assume.
I don't know. She looks just black, but you never can tell.
Well,
anything's possible.
Yeah. So what's happening there?
Well,
maybe her husband died in the White Night and this is her new husband.
I have a theory. Well, they're all adopted. And the reason that they couldn't have kids of their own is because she got shot in the belly and they had to like pull her insides out to save her life.
Okay.
She probably just lost her uterus or something during the White Night.
Could be.
Adopt kids later.
Could be.
That's my theory. But who knows? It's the future. She could have had a baby squid for all the fuck we know. Okay, so sure enough, there's a lot going on underneath the bakery. She has a little lair down there. Like a superhero.
Right.
And she gets all dressed up. Cape. She got a cape.
She's got a black leather trench coat.
Is it a trench coat? I thought it was a cape.
It's a leather trench coat.
Maybe I'm thinking of the boys. But she got her face covered all of a sudden. Some black on her, what do they call it? Eye black, I think it's called. Like football players wear, but all over her eyes. And she gets in a really cool muscle car and drives to a trailer park, punches a guy in the face, and puts him in her trunk. Cool.
Seems pretty ballsy.
Yeah, it seems like it. But then she goes and winds up meeting up with some cops. So she's a cop. But she's a cop that dresses like a superhero. What an interesting future.
Right. And all the other cops that are there, most of them had uniforms on, right?
Yeah, so the impression I get, like when you watch a show like The Rookie, right? There's the rank and file cops that all have to wear the standard uniform. But if you're a detective, you basically get to wear whatever you want. And I think that's what we're seeing here, is that the detectives or somehow otherwise higher ranking cops can wear bizarre uniforms at times.
That's cool.
Yeah. And as she gets into this police station or whatever, there's a video that they're all watching from the 7th Cavalry, our bad guys.
Rorschach faces.
And with the guy speaking, and as it slowly pans out, it's like a ton of guys, and they're all wearing Rorschach masks. And they say don't get in their way or there'll be more dead cops. They think that cop is dead. They say they're out for retribution, and there's a lot of them. But we don't know what retribution for what. We don't know about that. And then they keep saying tick-tock, tick-tock.
Tick-tock, tick-tock.
Very creepy.
Right.
Yeah. But we don't know anything about them. And this episode isn't going to fix that. All right. So anyway, Don Johnson's talking to Angela. He says there's been 3 years of peace, and now cavalry is back. Oh, I think he's talking to everybody when he says that. And this guy named Panda, he's the rules guy.
Oh my God, Panda.
And he's literally wearing a panda head. But they call him Panda. So it's a good combination. I guess that works. And it's dirty. Like it looks like something out of like a Fallout apocalypse kind of thing. You can't
throw it in the washer.
No, it wouldn't fit for sure. No. It would definitely destroy your washing machine.
But just get a new one.
Well, hey, you could still do like a surface wash. I don't know.
Stick it out the window when you're going through the car wash.
And we see like all these other cops. Like there's one named Red. I can't remember what his mask was.
Probably Red.
There's the shiny face guy. There's, the red guy the guy named Red was wearing all red. And then there's Panda. And Panda is in charge of this huge binder full of cops' rules. He's like the parliamentarian or something of the police force.
He's the one that wouldn't release fast enough the gun.
He wouldn't release fast enough for our almost dead officer. And now they're talking about a 24-hour emergency weapons release. And it takes a little bit of, fudging. Like
everybody had to vote.
Right. Everyone had to declare that they felt that their lives were in imminent danger. Mm-hmm. And that's how they got their weapons. Okay. So, Angela sitting in Don Johnson's office. She says she has a guy in her trunk. She thinks he's 7th K and they'll put him in the pod. So we see the pod. It is an egg. It's like something Mork from Ork might have flown around the universe in, if you're old enough to know that
It's like my yoga pagoda that I wanted to create.
Is that supposed to be an individualized pod?
I was hoping for like a big yoga, like a giant one of those.
It's a surround vision. You want to make a yoga place where video walls surround you and make you think you're in nature or something like that. And this is kind of what that is. Or almost, there's these Disney rides at like Epcot Center. Have you been there?
Yep. Well, yes, I have been there. But it's also like the one at Disneyland where you fly.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's like a huge screen, but it's not 360, I don't think.
No, but they also have that one, like the Lincoln thing. You go into that room and it's 360.
Mm-hmm. That's at Epcot Center, right?
No, they have one at Disneyland too.
I don't think I've seen that. Now we never
I don't think they have it anymore. They did.
Okay. Back in the old days before I moved here.
No.
Okay.
Not that old.
Anyway, so this little pod has a 360-degree set of screens. So there's video all around you as this guy starts questioning. All these images start flashing up on the different screens. That was where I took a note that there's a picture of Mount Rushmore with Nixon on it.
Okay.
That's
right.
Bizarre. But the guy's asking questions about trans-dimensional attacks. Does he believe in them or know anything about them? Does he know about conspiracy theories? But the questions quickly turn to, are you a part of the 7th Cavalry? Are you a part of any terrorist groups? Are you involved in any terrorist plots that are, going to be hitting our, and the guy keeps saying no and no and no, but there's something about the pictures, and that's what the silver mask guy is really watching for. So he failed his interrogation. He had the wrong kind of responses in his eyes to some of the stimuli.
I'm not buying that.
I found it hard to believe too. It seems like the kind of shit that cops would pull right now to get a false fucking
lie detector type of thing.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like lie detectors, which we know.
I would be freaked out if I'm sitting in the pod with this weird ass guy with a shiny face and they're flashing weird ass pictures at me and asking me questions as if I'm guilty. My eyes would be doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm. But they were measuring, like, when a picture of like a KKK guy comes up, if your eyes narrow and focus on that and have a certain kind of response, then maybe that means you really like the KKK. As opposed to if your eyes flash a different way, it'd be like, he's repulsed by the KKK. That's the science, I guess, for shiny face guy. But he was right.
Maybe he's a magic-y guy and that's his magic thing.
Maybe he has a superpower. That's possible too.
Yeah.
But the important thing here is he was right. As we find out.
Right.
Angela goes off screen and gives that guy a savage beating.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't even know if he's alive.
If he's alive, he will not be an active member of our society for a number of months, I think. But she gets him to say cattle ranch, which is all they needed. So there's a nighttime operation at the cattle ranch, and we have a bunch of guys in Rorschach masks, or maybe not in Rorschach masks at the time. Oh yeah, they are. I think they're wearing their masks and they're removing watch batteries and throwing them all into a bucket because everyone needs a hobby in the future.
They're like those CV3233 batteries that we had to.
Well, and there are a few different sizes. There are those big ones that are kind of quarter shaped, and there's little tiny ones, the button cells or whatever. But they're just harvesting batteries. We don't know why. I assume at some point we'll learn why. And
they had precious minerals in them.
I just lost my notes on the episode.
That's
cool. Yeah, they all just disappeared.
Well, then all of a sudden, An alarm goes off. Somebody trips a wire or something.
All right, I found it. Yeah, they have, cameras. All these cops are sneaking up, and they all have guns, and they're all feeling good about themselves. But yeah, an alarm goes off.
And there's only like 10 cops.
Yeah, not nearly enough for when you see that video with all the Rorschach guys going tick-tock, tick-tock. I would have brought everybody.
I would have brought like 100 to surround the place.
But all these guys start passing out pills and putting them in their mouths.
Well, they didn't put them in their mouths. We didn't see that part.
Didn't we?
No.
I thought it was going to turn out to be some kind of like super steroid that gives you, that just turns you into like a super warrior for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's not. But they get a 50 caliber machine gun going to provide cover fire while all the other Rorschach guys escape. Angela manages to take down the gun single-handedly because she's the only badass on the force. And she catches one guy. But that pill is just a suicide pill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I assume like what, cyanide or something?
Probably. That's quick acting, I think. But these bad guys, the Rorschach guys, have a shitty old-timey airplane. And that starts taking off. And then that's when we find out where Crawford, Don Johnson, he's like managing this whole scenario, but it turns out it's from an airship.
A weird-ass airship.
An airship that looks just like Night Owl from the comic book. He had an airship just like that with these two big windows in the front. And it looked like owl eyes.
Remind me of Pookie.
Oh, God. Puka.
Puka.
Oh, God. That is a movie. There's a second one. There's a sequel.
Oh, my gosh.
Puka Lives, I think it's called.
Ugh.
Oh, not great, but it's on Hulu if you want a bad horror movie. Really bad. So the Night Owl ship, the police floater, whatever it is, goes after the plane, takes him down with a flamethrower, which was a cool weapon to have on an airplane. But then shit explodes. And
Don Johnson pushes it too hard, and then they crash.
And even though Crawford wasn't even strapped in, he and the pilot are both fine, I guess. Mm-hmm. They got a few scrapes, and that's it. And then something weird happens. All of a sudden, Jeremy Irons is in a countryside riding a horse. You don't even remember that part, do you? No. It was so divergent from the rest of what was happening in the episode.
I probably thought I was hallucinating or something.
Like I changed channels by accident. It's Jeremy Irons riding a horse into a castle, and then he's typing on an old-timey typewriter, and he's naked, and his maid is rubbing liniment oil on his thighs. Not
on his penis.
Definitely not. That would be inappropriate.
It seemed like that's where it was going, but it never went there.
No,
and he didn't take any like sexual pleasure out of it.
No, he was very distracted by his typing.
And she was happy to do it.
She seems to really care about taking care of him.
And he's naked.
He's very naked.
Weird ass shit is going on. And the butler guy too. He's like, they're all worshiping him.
Yes. And the butler and the maid, they announced today's his anniversary.
And they've made him a honeycomb cake out of the honeycomb that he gave them.
Yes. And the cake looks really cool.
Yes.
But then the butler wants him to cut the cake and hands him a horseshoe.
Right. He's like, this is a fucking horseshoe, you idiot.
Maybe a knife would have been appropriate. And the butler's like, oh, should I get a knife? So what the fuck is the butler? Because I hope he's a robot.
Maybe he's a horse.
Maybe he's a horse brain transplanted into a human body. I could believe that more than he's just a dude.
Oh, okay. The robots make sense.
It could be a robot.
That would explain their lack of disgust or any kind of sense of this is odd.
And apparently the cake is gross because Jeremy Irons, whatever his name is, takes one bite of it and then sets it aside.
And they're not even offended.
Nope.
They're just like, here's your present, sir.
Oh, and then they give him a present that seems to actually be really nice.
Right. He loved it. What was it?
It's a gold watch that the butler had worked very hard on repairing.
Mm-hmm.
So that was meaningful to Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, he almost got verklempt.
Yeah. I think he did get verklempt. He didn't really break down in tears, but I think he was definitely a little verklempt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then he announces that he's writing a tragedy. The maid and the butler will play the main roles, and the tragedy is called The Watchmaker's Son.
And they seem so excited.
They're very excited. And also, what the fuck is going on? The only connection I can make is that there's a watch and TikTok and watch batteries, but I don't even think that follows, because that kind of watch, I think you wind it up. I don't think you put a battery in it anyway, but what the fuck?
I don't know.
Maybe his name is Mr. Watchman. And I don't know where that fits in really, but.
Okay.
Fuck. It's just so weird. It really was like a completely different show. If we were hallucinating, write us, Jeff at potofthrones.com or Jennifer at potofthrones.com. Just tell us.
We didn't take any drugs or do any drinking last night.
We don't want to know any spoilers. I don't even want to know Jeremy Irons' name, because I'm sure we'll find out, and there's a good reason they haven't told us yet. But if we were hallucinating or watching the wrong show, that part I would like to know. Okay? No spoilers.
One time when I was young, I was watching like, I don't know, Three's Company or something normal.
Woo! I love that show.
And then all of a sudden, it was really late at night. All of a sudden, porno pops in.
Ooh.
For just like a minute. And then it went, and then it was gone.
You spent the rest of your life
maybe this is what happened
for it. Like someone hacked your television signal. That was a thing back in the 80s. It happened a few times, usually for a better reason. But actually, no, that's not even true. Broadcasting a minute of porno, I feel like I've heard of that happening a couple times. Like once during like a presidential debate or a convention or something, like someone hacked into the TV signal and displayed some porn.
Oh, that would have been so awesome this year.
And there were a couple instances of Max Headroom. Like it was a weird dude in a Max Headroom mask, like a rubber mask, like just spouting crazy shit over the television signal.
Wow. We should see if we can find some of that.
I think that stuff's on YouTube, but that sounds like maybe just one of your neighbors in whatever fucking little town you were. They just hacked the signal just to do it.
Maybe this is what happened with Jeremy Irons.
Meth or something. Okay. So now we're back to the real show. And everything's great now. It's dinner time.
Laughing. Yeah. Don Johnson's there.
Right. Judd Crawford and his family, his wife. I guess it's just his wife. And then Angela, the cop, and her husband. I don't think he got a name. And their 3 kids. They're all having dinner.
Laughing.
They're having a great time. This is where someone mentioned something about President Redford, just in the middle of a sentence, just a passing reference to President Redford. I assume it had to be Robert Redford, right? Like
who knows?
In the same vein as Ronald Reagan was president, why not Robert Redford?
He probably would have made a better president.
Judd excuses himself at one point. I think
go snort some coke.
Yeah. He comes back and he's got a little powder on his nose that Angela's like, hey, guy, dumbass. Signaling to him to get that off. But they start talking about the watch batteries. I think that was their own conversation after dinner. But they were talking about the watch batteries. They were the ones that were being harvested were made with a synthetic lithium that causes cancer. So nothing related to what we've got right now in our world. We don't have synthetic lithium, but we certainly do have companies that can give people cancer. And the best speculation they could make was maybe these guys are going to make some kind of cancer bomb. I don't know. But anyway, they're just talking about the batteries.
Yeah.
The fallen cop gets a name. His name is Charlie Sutton. He has just woken up at the hospital. Judd's going to go over there and see him. So
she doesn't want him to drive, but yet like an asshole man, he gets in the car alone and
it's
drives.
Just a little Coke, lady.
Right.
I'll be fine.
Coke and wine.
I'll be fine. A couple beers.
No, he said, I'm going to have one of the boys drive me. Yet he got in the truck.
He did say that. You're right. He just lied straight to her face because then he drove himself.
Yep.
You're fucking right. What an asshole. And he rolls over a spike strip.
It's Don Johnson for you.
Now, those spike strips are something cops carry for when they need to
stop a
high-speed chase, right? Yeah. So they'll drag it across the road and then your tires blow out and then it's very hard to drive. What?
He's just like nonchalantly looking at it as if,
yeah,
I'd be freaking out by that point.
Pull your gun. Well, maybe he doesn't have a gun. Fuck, who knows?
Yeah, no, he should have a gun because
he was probably coming off the coke and he was just like overly mellow at that point.
I don't think that's the way coke works.
I don't know. I've never done it. Have you?
Maybe.
That's not interesting enough for you to know, like,
I cannot
each
confirm
individual
nor
drug
deny.
you've ever taken. Okay, cool. It was when you were young. We all know that. You're clean now.
Of course.
It's okay. But yeah, he's like, oh, a spike strip. That's weird.
What's that doing there?
He's just kind of shambling around out there. And then there's this bright white light. And we don't know what happens after that. Angela, she is getting her world rocked.
In a closet or something.
Well, you don't want to offend the kids. The kids are probably like playing Nintendo or something.
Right.
So she's getting just fucked. Like her husband is making things happen.
And she's close. And
then her phone starts ringing. And she really tries hard to just focus on having that orgasm, but she can't quite get there. Sophie, the dog of Thrones, is trying to get on my pillow, and that just is not okay. You leave my pillow alone, you nasty dog. Sorry about that. But anyway, she gets phone calls. She answers the phone. We find out her last name is Abar, if that matters. But Angela Abar, come to the big oak tree out on Roland Hill. So she
come alone.
She gears up.
We know who you are.
She like punches open her headboard and it's a secret panel. And she pulls a gun out of there, pulls a gun out of the fireplace, gives one to her husband, and she's out. She's just her and her shotgun.
Right.
I think he said like, don't bother wearing a costume. I know who you are, or something like that. Something like that.
Maybe.
And she climbs a hill, and there's the old man in the wheelchair from the bakery.
Yeah, what's he doing there?
Well,
how did he get there?
How did he get there? Well, he has the note that says, please watch over this boy. Mm-hmm. And he's like kind of holding that on his lap. And then up in the tree is Judd Crawford. Hung. Lynched. Full on lynching style. Just hanging from a tree. Like so many young black boys in the 1920s and 30s and 40s.
So maybe they're calling, instead of the Tulsa Massacre, maybe they're calling that the White Night.
No, because Angela was shot on the White Night, and that was like 70 years ago. Because now he's an old man.
That's true.
Right? Yeah, he's super old now. And in a wheelchair. And that's the really interesting part is it. So the implication is that this guy hung Judd Crawford.
No, I didn't believe that.
How do you do that from a wheelchair?
He didn't do that. The Reformation guys did that, or the Rorschach guys did that.
The cavalry. Mm-hmm. But he must be working with them then, right?
No.
Well, why is he there?
I don't know. Why would he still be there? He's just waiting in his wheelchair for...
Well, exactly.
Oh, but he can also lift 200 pounds.
Right. That had to mean something. Because Judd Crawford probably weighed about 200 pounds. Because he wasn't fat like some of us.
Well, he was probably 170.
Oh, shut up.
He's not very tall.
I think the implication is that he's involved in the hanging one way or another.
But why would he wait there?
But that whole...
To get caught.
That is a very good question. I think we're going to have to watch episode 2.
You think?
I think we might. I'd like to think that there will be an explanation. And I would also like to think that even though Angela is now mourning what appears to be her best friend, on the force at least.
Kind of. Maybe it's her ex-husband.
The father of her kids?
Yeah.
That'd be dark. Like, what's real husband's take on all that? All my children are white. It's weird.
No, I think they are just old friends or something.
Yeah, I think so. But in all of her mourning, it's hard to imagine that she would take this old guy and give him the same kind of savage beating.
Right.
That she gave that young guy before.
Yeah, she's not going to do that.
I don't think she'll do that. But it will be interesting to find out what his deal is. What's his story?
I have a feeling that he's going to tell quite a story about Don Johnson.
I think we're going to have some serious flashbacks. I think we're going to find out that Judd Crawford had a dark side. Mm-hmm. And fuck, as soon as you remember, they were talking about Black Oklahoma. In fact, I think that's what they called it, the Black production of Oklahoma. I think they were just saying Black Oklahoma. They were talking about that. He sang a song at the dinner table, but it was somewhere in that conversation that we found out his first name is Judd. And what did I do? You don't remember because you don't know Oklahoma. But I started singing while we were watching the show, Poor Judd is Dead.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Judd is dead. Oh, Judd Fry is dead. I remember that from fucking high school.
Nose.
And sure enough, that's what they were playing at the end of the episode. It was all leading up to that. They wanted to call a character Judd in Oklahoma so that they could do an Oklahoma Judd Fry is dead thing at the end of the episode. And that was where that line, it's summer and we're running out of ice. That's from that song.
Yeah.
I almost had it. I almost nailed it. I was very close.
It's a common theme in this, in all of these series. Summertime, ice.
That's when people go crazy.
Well, also when you need dead people on ice.
Yeah. If you don't, they smell.
Right.
Yep. So that was the first episode of Watchmen. I gotta say, I mean, they got me. I want to know more. There are so many things. It's hard to imagine that we'll get answers to all the things in one season of television. I mean, the squids.
Yeah.
President Redford.
We got to find out about the
squid. White Knight. What happened to this kid after Tulsa? Why the cops are all wearing masks.
I wish we didn't have to work tomorrow. We could just go watch the rest of it.
Just like an hour of watching, an hour of podcast, an hour of watching, an hour of podcast all night long. Well, do you have any of that cocaine I was asking about? Because that would really help.
No, Jed died.
No.